is the famous website, ColombianCupid.com. I went on this website and it was, I think it's like $25 a month. Just went on there and said, okay, I'm going to go down to Colombia. I want to make some friends before. So I started chatting on this website, and I started chatting with Kari on this website, and I think I sent her about 3 messages, and then the third message is I bought a ticket, I'm coming down to Bogota in about 2 weeks, and her response was, okay, thank you for your message. So I wasn't really sure kind of what that meant, so I got down there and I was really unsure about what was going to happen. So I ended up staying in a hostel that I had stayed at before, which the hostel Sue, and kind of was calling Kari, and finally after about a month, she had some free time, so we got to meet up. Let me just go to the next. This is the hostel, which it's a really nice hostel. My mother stayed there, and it's kind of this is the touristy area. It's called the Candelaria, and so typically when anyone comes to Bogota, this is the place they go first. These are where all the museums are located. The Botero Museum, it's about 2 blocks from this. Then there is a really beautiful church. It's kind of like striped church. It's real close to that. And then tons of hostels. I think we stayed, I think this is the bathroom. We stayed in that room. And that was, I think it's about $12 a night. And so there's 4 beds in there. So it's a really good value. And so I ended up staying in that room. I stayed there for about a month. And then finally the owner of the hostel, she asked me, are you planning on staying here for longer? I said, yeah, I think I'll probably stay here for a couple months. And she's like, well, we're probably going to need you to put a little down payment on the place because, we can't just let you stay here for 3 or 4 months without paying. So I said, okay, no problem. So I went to the reception area and I said, oh, how much do I owe? I had been doing my laundry there too. They'd been washing my clothes. Had been having some beverages there. And so they said, oh, it's $350 for a month staying here with everything. I said, oh, it's okay. So I kind of looked through my pockets, and I actually only had about $300 total, and I was actually planning on staying there for longer. So I explained to her, oh, I only have $300. And the owner says, oh, don't worry, just give me the money you have now, and then later you can pay off the rest. I said, well, I'm probably not going to have any money later, so if you're asking me to pay the money later, I'm probably not going to have that. And so we went back and forth, and she recalculated it, put it into dollars for me so I could understand it, and finally we just came to the I had, I think, about $40 cash in American money, and I said, okay, here it is. That's all I got. And she took it. She's like, okay, you didn't quite have enough, but you can stay here anyway. So I ended up staying in the DVD room, which is right where this photo is taken from, the DVD room. And I just had a couch in there, so I slept in there happily for another 2 weeks. And as you can see, it's a really kind of casual place. A lot of people, you just end up staying there for sometimes years. I had another friend there that I met. He's from Alabama, and his name is Peyton, and he came down to the hostel. And Peyton, he had about $1,000 in his account when he came to Colombia, and he said, I'm just down here because my friend recommended it. I said, okay, good. And so he's no Spanish, to say the least. He didn't speak any Spanish, and he bought a bike. The first week he was down there, he brought a brand new bike. Then he bought a bunch of clothes, and he went out partying every night. And then about 2 weeks into it, Peyton had no money, and he ended up staying in a DVD room as well because he didn't have any money. And he had pneumonia because he wasn't eating properly, and he actually sold all of his clothes. So he got a really bad pneumonia. So he ended up coughing every night, and everyone said, please go to the doctor, please go to the doctor. And so he finally went to the doctor. He got cured of the pneumonia, but he fell fell down when he was coming back from the doctor, and he hurt his ankle really bad. So there was a tree back here in the patio area, and so he would just grab branches out of the tree and he would use those branches for like a cane. And so he would just walk around with this kind of cane that he made out of branches. And then sometimes when he would go out to a bar and have a couple beers, he would forget to bring his cane back to the hostel. So the next morning he would climb the tree, he would break off another branch, and then he would have a new cane to use for that day. So it was a lot of people. It was really kind of a nut house, this hostel. A lot of people were coming and going, and they all had these really very strange stories. Peyton, while he was there, he got a notice to appear in court in Alabama on I guess one of his co-workers was involved in a murder case, and he was supposed to go back to Alabama to testify. He says, I'm not going back there. I don't want to have any more problems. So there was all these weird all these stories and all these people coming through, and so that was very interesting, chatting with these people. And so finally, I ended up getting a job, and I worked as an extra, and this was taken at Fox, Colombia, and so typically this is what they use, the people with white faces. You end up being like an FBI officer, and so this is you show up, you get dressed, you get in line, and then usually you spend an hour getting your costume. Once you get your costume, then you spend an hour waiting for your meal. Then you get the meal, then you spend an hour waiting for everyone else to finish their meal. And then usually you're on camera for 2 seconds, and then you wait, and then they shoot it again, and then you wait another 2 hours, and usually it ends up being like an 8 or 10 hour day.
You're just having a walkthrough.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You're just you're there and you're drinking coffee, you're eating, you're talking to people, and then they said, okay, we need you on camera. You do that, and then you just sit around. So what I did, these are my business cards I printed out. She actually was nice enough to design those. So between eating and waiting for my costume, I kind of just started handing out business cards as an English teacher. And so, I kind of picked up steam there, so that was good.
Did you get a new piece of tech over the holidays? Do you need help using your new laptop, mobile device, or e-reader? Or would you like to improve your skills? Come meet with our technology assistant at the circular table near the holes in the adult section today and every Saturday in January from 2 to 4 p.m. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
A little intermission there.
Yeah.
So as I started getting more of these jobs, I primarily just through staying at the hostel Sue, people would just come in and they would need 10 foreigners. So you would.
So did you have to get a visa in order to work there?
That's a perfect question. Actually, no. A lot of these people, I don't have a visa. I had a tourist visa, and there's not a lot of questions. You just show them a piece of ID. There was a guy I know from Las Vegas who, for whatever reason, he didn't have any form of identification. I think he handed them like a card from a restaurant and he wrote his name on it, and that was his identification. So it's really casual. In Colombia they don't ask too many questions about what are you doing here? What is your status? So these jobs like that, these are real easy to get, and this is like about a $50 payday for just kind of sitting around and chatting
50.
with people. Yeah.
50.
Yeah, so it's real. The Colombian people, they make a lot less. So as a foreign person, you're making about 3 times what a Colombian person's making. But it's not, I guess, it's a little, the Colombians don't like it. And so I actually tried to form a union. That didn't work. So that's what I did. And actually during this filming, because Bogota is very high elevation, it's almost 8,000 feet high. So a lot of the foreign people who come from different countries, it's really tough getting your oxygen